Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Late Thursday night, Coach Prime, Colorado surviving North Dakota State Deal 1. What a phenomenal football game. Got a few really big takeaways I want to get into, but I think first, Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, that connection is extremely dynamic. And whenever the moment was the brightest, like that connection is going to win you a lot of football games going into 2024. Something that's not going to get talked about enough that I think is a massive storyline in this football game. Defensive coordinator Robert Livingston. I mean, the halftime adjustments that you saw this Colorado defense make, you didn't get that under Charles Kelly last year, where North Dakota State was giving Colorado a lot of different looks from a lot of different personnel packages that was clearly kind of throwing Colorado off. I thought that Colorado front seven actually played a damn good football game against a very good rushing attack for North Dakota State. I was, quite surprised that Cam Miller had as much success throwing the football on this Colorado secondary, but you get into it and say a lot of really creative concepts that North Dakota State came out with in the first half, had a lot of success, held in 6 points in the second half. I think that's a massive storyline that ESPN and the national media analysts are going to talk about Shedeur Sanders and Jimmy Horn and Travis Hunter, which they 100% should talk about them. But Robert Livingston seems to be a massive upgrade at the defensive coordinator spot. I think that's one of the biggest storylines in terms of gauging how successful Colorado could be in the 2024 season. Want to get into a few other storylines before we do, and as always, the Colorado fans that, man, it was a blast talking this game all week long. The amount of support y'all have shown the fellas, it means the absolute world. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, whether you're a Colorado fan, whether you're just a college football fan, would love to hear from you guys in the comment section on how you're feeling. Dill, I'm going to give you the T-box here. Colorado, again, surviving a really good North Dakota State team. How are we feeling?
I mean, the big unit that stood out was that defensive line, and I'll especially pick out three guys who, Cheedy, he was really, really good. Haynes was really, really good. And then Cokes, I thought, had a really good game. And what was kind of what you wanted to see was their ability to get off blocks, fight through blocks, be a little bit more disruptive in the pass rush. I thought those three guys did a really, really nice job of making a lot of plays from that defensive line spot, and that's just something you really didn't see at all last year.
Yeah, Chidozie, I thought was, and we kind of talked about Chidozie heading into this game being like, I don't necessarily know if it's going to show up on the stat sheet, although I think it might for Chidozie's case. He played a really good football game, and I think you're most important. One, dealt with double teams really well. These linebackers were playing a little bit more free, but I think more importantly, block shedding. This guy was getting off blocks, running the line of scrimmage, making plays, stuff that you just didn't get from that Colorado defensive line last year. I think another kind of important storyline is the Colorado team in 2023. I don't think they win this football game because the depth was not going to be good enough on the defensive line. Right. North Dakota State had the time of possession, the amount of plays run in the first half was very lopsided. And I think you go back to 2023 with the lack of depth Colorado had on the defensive line, they probably would have been toast in the second half. But you look at the depth and the amount of rotation they were using on the defensive line, that was another one of those big storylines for me. Now let's start with the offensive side of the football. Shedeur Sanders, obviously very good football game, right? That doesn't really need to be said. 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. That 1 interception was as fluky as it gets. One of the things that I didn't necessarily agree with the announcers, I thought the offensive line was all right. I don't think the offensive line was the best unit in the country tonight, but I didn't think it was nearly as bad as they were making it out to be. And I think that's kind of the stigma that's carrying over from 2023. But you talk about, starting the left tackle in Jordan Seaton, that's his first college football game of his career. You're starting Tyler Brown at right tackle, who has never played tackle before in his life. And then you're just sprinkling in a bunch of new faces on the inside. I thought that Colorado offensive line, yes, they got beat up sometimes. I thought on a down-to-down basis, you saw a significant improvement from what you saw in 2023, and I don't think it's close.
Honestly, the only things that I thought were a little like you probably wish you saw better was the communication, some of their ability to pick up some blitzes. There was a few moments picking up stunts like their ability to work together. And again, when you're obviously refilling that unit and pretty much inserting a whole bunch of new starters, you probably expect that. And that'll be something, again, as Colorado matures as a program, you hope you can start building more of a pipeline from the high school ranks and you can be a little bit more communicative and not have those issues. But I mean, physically far better. I thought they were moving guys off the ball pretty effectively. I thought they were winning their one-on-ones a fair amount when they were just getting straight up pass rushes. But again, I think the one thing you'll want to hope to continue to improve on is their ability to communicate and pick up blitzes.
I totally agree. And that was kind of our talking point around this Colorado team heading into 2024, where the personnel is significantly better than it was in 2023. You just have better football players on the offensive line. You're a deeper unit. I think our big question mark was, look, this true sophomore, Hank Zielinskis, is the only Colorado offensive lineman that had any sort of starting experience from that last team. It is pretty much a brand new offensive line. I think you're going to see it get better over the season, right? As this unit gets a little bit more chemistry and continuity, but we knew there were going to be some growing pains. And like you said, some of the communication, some of the blitz pickups and the stump pickups, that can get better. But at least you got the players to have a decent offensive line, because last year you just didn't even have the players. The one thing that we took Colorado to cover the 10.5. At least I took Colorado to cover the 10.5 points. And one of the things we said was Colorado's speed on the outside is just going to be too much. I think that was very true. Like those Colorado wide receivers, when they were getting in space, just were a lot for North Dakota State to deal with. One thing that I would like to see get better is the running back play. We talked about this a lot in the offseason. You brought in Dallin Hayden to get that run game going where you weren't so one-dimensional on offense. I thought the offensive line, again, still can improve, but I thought it was better in the run blocking department. I kind of thought it was a little bit more in the running backs. I think you might have had one or two missed tackles forced all game. Dallin Hayden had that critical catch it and broke a tackle to extend that drive. But outside of that, I thought, and I would love to hear the Colorado fans' opinions, I thought you could maybe ask a little bit more from that running game. That's only going to help this offense because, again, I think go back to last year, they just seemed so one-dimensional, really not being able to run the football. You want to see that get a little bit better as you head into 2024 here.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought there were some moments where it's like, again, when their offensive line opens up a hole and you are one-on-one with guys, I think at this level, and when you're hoping to be a team that is competing for a Big 12 championship and kind of up in that echelon, you expect your running backs to be able to win one-on-one matchups in the hole. I thought there were enough moments where, again, you got to really kind of figure out who's going to be that guy, because I'm kind of with you. I thought that offensive line played good enough to not average, 2.7 yards on the ground. They were better than that.
Draylon Miller looked good, and I'm kind of excited to see his role get expanded potentially as a running back. We kind of said this in the pre-show. Draylon Miller's built like a running back, right? He's 5'11", he's 205 pounds, has a thick lower half, looked pretty comfortable taking carries out of the backfield, going back to his high school days. Again, we kind of called him a Deebo Samuel kind of guy. I kind of still believe that to be true, and I think it shows
There's
that
not that much room either in the wide receiver room. Like if he's going to get on the field, meaningful touches and upgrade a spot, it's like, okay, what do you take a LeJontay Western or Jimmy Horn off the field? Like those guys are really good, but now I think you kind of got to see that running back room is probably not the strength of this offense, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at Draylon Miller and say he can give you, especially when you go four wide as much as Colorado does, and you're going to see some light. Like North Dakota State was given some light boxes. Like Draylon Miller is going to succeed with light boxes because the more space you're able to create for Draylon Miller, the more effective he's going to be. Flipping over to the defensive side of the football, we talked about some guys that we thought played some really good football. Chidozie, obviously, on the inside. Deion Hayes came up with some really good negative plays on the outside. Linebacker play got better in the second half. Again, I credit Robert Livingston. Their defense, it just seemed like we're a little bit confused in terms of what North Dakota State was doing. And to be fair, North Dakota State came out with a game plan that was really hard to follow. I mean, a ton of different personnel groupings, a ton of different formations they threw at this Colorado defense. And I don't think a lot of that was on the film last year because they had some significant changes within the North Dakota State coaching staff, that is. So I think it took a half to kind of understand what North Dakota State was throwing out at Colorado. And I think what I'm so excited for is you saw Robert Livingston make some serious adjustments in the second half, and the plays that were working for North Dakota State in the first half weren't really working in the second half. They only scored 6 points. I don't. The secondary was probably the biggest question mark, right? I mean, when we were talking about this game a week ago, we said, "Hey, we feel comfortable with Colorado operating in man coverage against this North Dakota State pass catching group." And I think man on man, you probably do, but North Dakota State did a lot of different things in terms of stacks and rub routes that kind of was able to create some space. And I think you have to give a ton of credit to quarterback Cam Miller from North Dakota State. That kid is an absolute gamer, and I, for the life of me, cannot understand why North Dakota State kept taking that kid off the football field.
And that was bizarre, but I think you are right. I was a little surprised about how much space there was at times on the field for those North Dakota State wideouts, just because, again, I thought it would be easy, Matt. A lot of good matchups that would certainly favor Colorado in that wider, or in respect to that wide receiver.
Yeah, but I think what the thing is, they played a lot of, you kind of knew what Colorado was going to do. I mean, it was man coverage pretty much all night, and North Dakota State did a nice job of, hey, I'm not going to necessarily ask these wide receivers to one-on-one win and create separation, but I think more importantly, hey, we're going to stack wide receivers. We're going to force Colorado into some meshes and some picks and kind of force them to pass off some routes that I thought gave Colorado some struggles in the first half. But when you got to the second half, it was very much limited in terms of the separation you saw those pass catchers creating in the second half.
Yeah, and that's obviously like one of the things you love to see was just that ability to go the opposite way in a sense, in the way they used to go last year. It felt like, where, again, you might see a really good first half and then see the second half kind of tail off. So, again, obviously more winning football. That was a big thing from this Colorado team. Again, that ability to adjust and make some things happen. But I think on the whole, that's a solid performance. I thought there were way too many.
It's a solid performance, but a lot of room to improve it, specifically with some of the penalties. Obviously, Shiloh getting one, but also, I mean, offsides when you get off the field on third down, like those type of things when you're playing and trying to beat a team like Nebraska on the road next week, you got to be able to eliminate those. And I think it's nice for Colorado to get one of those gut checks out early, right? This was a North Dakota State team that, again, is a very good football team. You were tested late in the fourth quarter, faced a deficit going into the first half, or second half, I should say. You like to see Colorado kind of gut it out. I think there's a lot of room to improve with this program, but when you do have a quarterback in Shedeur Sanders and a wide receiver like Travis Hunter, like this team can be very competitive in the 2024 season. We'll cut it there late. Well, it's almost midnight East Coast time, Dill. We'll sign off. Again, appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas. Would love to hear how you guys are feeling in the comments section. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.